Let me jump to this crazy story involving Tim Ballard. And I will admit, uh, I did not watch The Sound of Freedom. I didn't see that movie over the summer. For what it's worth, I haven't seen Barbie or Oppenheimer either. I'll get around to it. I don't do movies. But one of the biggest non-Barbenheimer movies of the summer was The Sound of Freedom. And this is a movie in which Jim Caviezel, the guy who played Jesus in Passion of the Christ, Jim Caviezel plays a guy named Tim Ballard, whose mission it is to save children from Colombian sex traffickers. Tim Ballard is a real dude, so this is one of those based on a true story movies. And in the movie, basically, the way this movie goes down, from what I've read, is that Tim Ballard is a US government agent who goes after these child predators. And that's a wonderful thing. I'm glad he's going after them, right? The problem in the movie is no matter how many guys he arrests, the problem never seems to dissipate. So eventually he's like, why am I going after the bad guys when I need to get to the root of the problem? So Tim Ballard, the main character in the movie, he wants to save the children directly. And the government's like, you can't do that. That's not your job here. And so he's like, well, then I quit. And then he just goes to Colombia to try to rescue children by himself. And even when his own life is in danger, he's there trying to protect the kids. That's the idea. So right-wing conspiracy theorists have totally latched onto this film, partly because I think they think everybody is a sex predator who are going after children. And if you're a Democrat, that's very true. And if you're some liberal, that's probably true. You know how that works? And also, Tim Ballard in real life and Jim Caviezel, the actor playing him in real life, they're both conspiracy theorists who align with like the Fox News Newsmax crowd. Both men have promoted QAnon conspiracies. They claim Democrats are involved in the kidnapping and selling of kids. At one point, they said like they're harvesting the blood of children to consume as an elixir of youth. That's the sort of BS these guys believe in. But here's the thing. Just because these guys are kind of crazy on their own, if the movie was good, maybe that would explain how successful it is, maybe, because Hollywood always takes liberties with these based on a true story movies. And if it's a good story, I could see how that could be successful on its own. But the what has come out since the movie has been out is that they took a lot of liberties with this movie. They overlooked a lot of facts about Tim Ballard. So here's what you should know about it. The truth is, Tim Ballard founded a nonprofit anti-trafficking group called Operation Underground Railroad. Like an horrible name, by the way. Why are you taking that name? But their whole group's claim is that we conduct paramilitary missions to rescue children. And according to the group, since 2013, they have emancipated over 6,000 women and children, and Ballard himself participated in some of those missions. So that's the story the group has been telling for several years. But shortly after the film's release, Vice, that news outlet, basically said the movie's overlooking, they're glossing over OUR's long history of exaggeration and misrepresentation. And they had a couple of examples here that I'll tell you about. One of them is that OUR took credit for rescuing a girl named Liliana. But according to their reporting, the girl rescued herself and never interacted with people from OUR until years later. So, like, why are they taking credit for her? They also claimed collaborations, working collaborations with groups. Those collaborations did not exist. Some of their actions, critics have said, may have made the trafficking problem worse. And they also reported their number of reported successes. A lot of experts in the field say those are exaggerated as well. So all of that we have known for months now, if you followed this story, that the movie depicts Tim Ballard and OUR as these amazing people in this amazing group. And the reality of the group is that even if you think its mission is on the right track, the facts of the matter are very much exaggerated, if not problematic. And then recently, like this week, I'm going to show you this here. Vice came out with another report. This time they pointed out that Tim Ballard left the organization earlier this year. And you might have thought, oh, it's because the movie's coming out. He has other things to do. He has people he's going to talk to. He's going to capitalize on his fame. Well, according to the Vice article, nope, that's not the reason he left. Tim Ballard's departure from Operation Underground Railroad followed a sexual misconduct investigation. According to that article, Tim Ballard, when he was on mission in places like Colombia, he invited women to act as his wife on undercover overseas missions, ostensibly aimed at rescuing victims of sex trafficking. He would then allegedly coerce those women into sharing a bed or showering together, claiming that it was necessary to fool traffickers, which is wild because that suggests these people are lurking in his shower. They have spy cameras looking into his house. I don't know. Ballard, Vice said, is said to have sent at least one woman a photo of himself in his underwear, festooned with fake tattoos, and to have asked another how far she was willing to go to save children. That's according to a source. So that was a problem that happened this week. And it's like, okay, allegation, sure. This is not a criminal thing just yet. But if those allegations are true, that would certainly explain why he ran the hell out of that organization or why they got rid of him or whatever it was. So that is definitely messed up. But the reason I wanted to talk about it specifically is because of another headline that came out this week, which involved the Mormon Church, which I didn't know was part of this movie. But apparently, here you go. Here's this headline. The Mormon Church denounces Tim Ballard's morally unacceptable activities. It's like, one, for the Mormon Church to go after one dude, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, for someone who, by the way, still claims to be a Mormon, I've never seen that happen. They're going after one of their own. That's wild. But also, is the Mormon Church really on the moral high ground here? To call out someone else's actions? That seems weird as well. So, what is going on there? And that story in itself is also pretty strange. So, let me try to explain this as best I can. Apparently, when Tim Ballard in real life was giving speeches about this amazing work he does, he often invoked the name of one of the leaders of the Mormon Church. That leader is a 94-year-old dude named Russell Ballard. And Russell, and I know they have the same last name. Don't be confused. They are not related. But Russell Ballard's official title is the acting president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Hell of a business card. That's a long way of saying he's just a high-ranking Mormon leader. Now, here's the thing. They do know each other. They have talked with each other. They have praised the work of each other in the past. But apparently, Tim Ballard, the dude in the movie, he said the Mormon guy was in close contact with him during rescue operations, and they also worked together closely on a for-profit venture capitalizing on Tim Ballard's fame. And that is what the Mormon Church, in the wake of those sexual abuse allegations, that's kind of what they're now responding to, because they're basically saying, no, we have nothing to do with this guy whatsoever. Check out this statement from the Mormon Church here. I'll zoom in here so you can see this. President Ballard and Tim Ballard, no relation, established a friendship a number of years ago. That friendship was built on a shared interest in looking after God's children wherever they are and without regard to their circumstance. However, that relationship is in the past. For many months, President Ballard has had no contact with the founder of OUR. The nature of that relationship was always in support of vulnerable children being abused, trafficked, and otherwise neglected. Once it became clear Tim Ballard had betrayed their friendship through the unauthorized use of President Ballard's name for Tim Ballard's personal advantage and activity regarded as morally unacceptable. Notice they don't say what they're talking about there. What exactly was morally unacceptable? President Ballard withdrew his association. He never authorized his name or the name of the church to be used for Tim's personal or financial interests. Like, what on earth is the church talking about that Tim Ballard did wrong? Were they talking about the alleged abuse, the sexual abuse with the women? Were they talking about something else? It's weird that they just said this guy's morally unacceptable without going into details about that. But also, they just want to make it very clear they got nothing to do with the Sound of Freedom guy. Like, they're running the hell away from this dude. Um, and also, they pointed out, I think, someone who worked with Tim Ballard said one of the reasons Tim Ballard wanted to connect himself to the higher up in the Mormon Church is basically to use his organization, the sex trafficking group, to lead people to Mormonism. Like, he thought he was on a mission to convert people to his religion. And the fact that the Mormon Church still wants nothing to do with the guy, I mean, that should tell you how whatever this guy did, Tim Ballard, is bad. Because even the Mormon Church is like, oh, he was recruiting for us? Yeah, no, don't care. Oh, he has one of the biggest movies in the summer that could totally recruit people for our cause, still want nothing to do with him. Tim Ballard, by the way, has reacted to the Mormon Church's statement by first saying the Mormon Church didn't really write that, which, because he's basically saying, look, it appeared in Vice. What is Vice? Why would you believe anything in that outlet? Except the Mormon Church also sent the same statement to like local news outlets around Salt Lake City. Like, there's a news station that said, yeah, we got the memo too. So it's not a fake statement. The Mormon Church released that. Tim Ballard is also saying that the people who work for Vice must be pedophiles or adjacent to that. Like, just he's making up lies at this point. He's really trying to shoot down any claim that the Mormon Church wants nothing to do with him. He is trying to shove away any allegations of sexual abuse. And it's not just because his career now, not just the movie's success, which I don't think he gets paid for that, but his speaking career and his fame is definitely going to financially benefit if the movie does well. So he wants to capitalize on that. But one reason he wants to make sure his name is not tarnished is because you may have heard this week that Mitt Romney is not going to run for re-election for U.S. Senate. Well, Tim Ballard over here says, you guys, I think I'm going to pull a J.D. Vance here and ride my right-wing fame perhaps to a Senate seat. He hasn't officially announced yet. That announcement could come within like a week or two. But basically, he's trying to make sure that when he launches his campaign, if he launches his campaign, the first things people are talking about are not sex abuse allegations. And also, the Mormon Church finds this guy untouchable. They want nothing to do with him. So that might be another reason. And also, by the way, if he does win the Republican nomination in Utah, oh, he's going to be in the Senate. So, like, don't just pretend like this is, or don't just think this is some fringe dude who's never going to get elected. He's a fringe dude with abuse allegations who has a whole career of lying, allegedly, behind him. He could very much win that Republican nomination and skate to the U.S. Senate. So, scary thing to think about, but it could happen. What are some of these comments coming in about what people are saying about Ballard here? It's so much worse than that. This dude has written a bunch of historical revisionism novels claiming that the U.S. was meant to be a Mormon nation. Serious, look up his books. I don't want to look up his books, but I will take your word that he has written that type of revisionist history novels. Those types of books. I mean, David Barton does that all the time when it comes to Christian nationalism. Those types of books that suggest religion and my politics and the work I do, it's all intertwined. Those often come together. Professor Plink says, I love how the Christian right was talking about this movie 24/7 until the scandals about Ballard started breaking. Now crickets. Yeah, I am curious. Like, I heard a lot about this movie when it came out, but you're right. Since these allegations came out, Christians have moved on to other stuff. I kind of wonder, are they going to come back to this movie as soon as this stuff dies down? Are they going to support Tim Ballard's inevitable Senate campaign? Or are they going to start distancing themselves? Because when it comes to politics, as we have seen, Republicans will ignore just about anything, whatever scandal you want to throw their way, if it means their guy still gets power. So that's the fear here, that maybe they can ignore the movie, but if he runs for Senate, they will flock right back to him, and that could be scary as well. You also, yeah, definitely got to look up the painting Tim had commissioned. It lionizes him. No, alongside Abe Lincoln, Harriet Tubman, Glenn Beck, and Tony Robbins, which Harriet Tubman and motivational speaker Tony Robbins and Glenn Beck. You know that Clarence Thomas painting with him with his rich Republican donors surrounding him, and a dude painted it, even though that scene never actually happened. And then there are guys who paint Donald Trump like with six pack and like looking like some sort of He-Man figure. The fact that someone may have painted, or Tim Ballard painted, or someone painted that Tim Ballard with all those people, I don't doubt it for a second. And also, I totally want to see that picture right now. If you're on YouTube, go find it and let's check it out. But man, I can't believe that story went from here's a movie that right-wing crazy people absolutely love, all the way to, oh, by the way, the dude behind it is even worse than you thought, allegedly. Crazy story.